Hey guys, this is your video to go through your study guide for your unit test over integers, absolute value, and coordinate grids. Okay, so let's get started. Sliding this over. Here we go. So the first few questions are going to be more about integers, then absolute value, and then more into the coordinate grid. Okay, so the first question or questions is just being able to read a scenario and tell me what the integer would be that would represent the scenario. So do you know if something is a positive or a negative in a real world scenario? A hibernating animal lost 6 pounds. So if you lose weight, what number would represent that weight change? A signed number, meaning positive or negative. So when you lose weight or lose money, it's a negative. Okay. LaShonda received $85. If I give you $85, is that a negative or a positive amount? It's going to be positive. And you don't actually have to write the positive sign, right? And we just normally just use a regular number. Okay. The temperature fell by 6 degrees Fahrenheit today. So if something goes down, right, that would be a negative amount, right? It went down, it decreased. A car corporation produced 1,160 fewer cars this month than last. So again, that number went down. The production line went down. So if something decreases, it's a negative, right? So here we go. Okay. You're going to kind of hear some commonality of these words, right? Decreasing, increasing, all that good stuff. So now I'm going to plot these. And this is basically just making sure that you're careful. Okay. So again, I always start at 0. It just helps my brain. I need to get to negative 12. Okay. So sometimes if you go too quickly, you're like, oh, 10, 11, 12, because you're used to counting in that direction. But if you start at 0, it helps out a little bit more, because if you go to negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10, negative 11, negative 12. You don't have to do that every time, but just trying to stress it to you, okay? So if it's positive 3, 1, 2, 3 from 0, and then negative 9. So again, I'm at negative 5, so negative 6, 7, 8, negative 9. Cool? So just go slowly. Otherwise, you're going to make those little errors, okay? What's the opposite of these numbers? Remember, opposites, just changing the sign to the opposite sign. So if it's positive, it's negative. If it's negative, it's turned into a positive, okay? So what's the opposite of 3? Negative 3, right? What's the opposite of negative 7? Positive 7. Okay. And again, this isn't tricky. You just have to keep track of it. So what's the opposite of 6? Well, that's negative 6, right? But then you have to find the opposite of that. The opposite of negative 6 is 6. So that's your overall answer. Okay. A double negative kind of gets you back to where you started. Okay. Okay, on the number line below, plot negative 1 and the opposite of negative 1. So they're just making sure that you can find it on the number line, negative 1, and that you know what an opposite is. So if you have a negative, the opposite's going to be a positive, right? And it's a good visual too as to why it's called an opposite, because you're literally folding the number line in half at the 0 mark, right? Look at this. We've been on this for like 3 minutes. We're already on question 6. Okay. Now we're doing less than, greater than, or equal to compare these numbers. Okay. So all you have to do is think about this in terms of a number line, right? If you're at 0, the further left you go, right, the less you have. Okay. Even though the digits themselves get bigger, right? 12 is bigger than 1. But since they're negative, you're going further left. That means you have less. If you're in debt $12, you have less money than your friend who's in debt only $1. Okay, so negative 12 is actually less than negative 1. Okay, make sure you click on the next box before you start clicking around over here. 11 is definitely more than 5, greater than 5. And then 0 and negative 6. Well, would you rather have no money or would you rather be in debt $6? In debt means you owe somebody money before you are at zero. So 0, even though it's not a lot of money, it is actually having more. Gosh darn it, I did it again. It's still having more than a debt of $6. Okay. Continue. So I'm leaving this on here. I'm glad it stayed, right? -5 and -4. All right. Automatically, you think 5 is bigger than 4, but 5 is further to the left on your number line, right? Left is less. Okay. So that means -5 is less than -4. This guy has less money. He's in debt more. Okay. This one should be obvious, a +7 or a -9. Do you want to have $7 or be in debt $9? Obviously, $7 is more, right? And again, -10 and -2. If you just quickly do this, you're going to be like, 10's bigger than 2. They're negatives, right? So the further left you go, so if -2's here, -10 is like all the way down here. The further left you go, the less money you have. So -10 is less than. So just be careful. Go slow on those. Read carefully. Okay. Think of a number line. Evaluate the following. It just means solve it. Okay. So what is the absolute value of -14? Well, remember, absolute value is always positive. They're always positive. Okay. That's the only thing you really have to remember. So the absolute value of -14 is 14. -14 is 14 hops from 0 on the number line. What's the absolute value of 6? It's still 6. Okay. It's not -6. We're not talking about opposites. We're talking about absolute value. How many hops is 6 from 0 on the number line? It's 6 hops. Okay. It's always a positive amount when you're talking about absolute value. Cool. Don't get it confused with opposites. Okay. How many hops is 9 from 0 on the number line? Or what's the absolute value? +9. How many hops is -5 from 0? It's 5 hops, right? Absolute value is always positive. Moving right along. All right, so here we go. Find all the numbers whose absolute value is 2. If there's more than one, separate them with a comma. If there's no such thing, then just click none, okay? So if I'm trying to get an answer of 2, okay, it means this number's absolute value is worth 2 when I'm trying to find it, okay? What numbers could I put in here? These are not 11s. These are the absolute value goalposts, okay? So if I put 2 in here, would that give me the absolute value of 2? Sure would, right? That's a true statement. If I put in a -2, right, would that give me an equal sign? This is an equal sign, okay? Is the absolute value of -2 +2? Sure is. So we actually have 2 answers here, right? We have a +2 and we have a -2. Yay. Moving on. Okay. Name the quadrant or axis where each point lies. Okay, and I love the fact that they're not really giving you anything to go off of. So the x coordinate is negative. Okay, x is your first thing that you do, right? Oh my gosh, why does it keep doing that? This is an x, sorry. The second thing that you draw is your y. Okay, so if the first thing is negative and the second thing, the y coordinate, is 0. So we're going to have a negative and we're going to have a 0. Starting at my origin, I need to go negative and then I'm not even moving. So where am I? Let me show you again. I'm here at the origin. I need to go negative and then 0. I don't go anywhere from there. Where am I? If I'm anywhere along this line, I am not in a quadrant. I'm actually on this line. What's this guy called? This guy is called the x-axis, yeah? Because this guy is the y-axis. I can make a y out of it. All right, the x-coordinate's positive. Da-da-da-da. And so it's positive. The x-coordinate is negative, sorry. Negative, and then the y-coordinate is positive. So I need to have a negative and then a positive. Here I am at the origin, and I need to go negative, positive. So I'm somewhere over here. Which quadrant is this? This is my 1, and then I draw a C, right? Or go counterclockwise. So this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4, remember? So if I'm starting here, if I have to go backwards for negative and up for positive, it means I'm in the second quadrant, okay? Quadrant 2. And again, they're Roman numerals, but they go in order. So you should be okay with still figuring those out, okay? Moving right along. Same concept. Here we go. So we're just getting ordered pairs. We don't have a grid, but we can figure out where they're located. So I have a -4, +4. So here I am in the center, and I need to go, let me use this instead. I need to go negative, positive. So I need to go back and up. Where am I at? That is quadrant 2. Okay. If I'm at 4, 0, it means I'm going +4. 0 means like want, lose your turn. You don't go anywhere else. So I'm just sitting here on this line. What line is this? This is your x-axis. X-axis here. Okay. Remember, this guy's your y because you can make a y out of it. Draw a y at the top. Okay. So now I have +7, +3. So starting at the origin, I want to go positive, positive. So I'm going to go forward and up. Which quadrant is this? That's quadrant 1. That's the very first one you learned because everything's positive, okay? Last one, -4, -6. So here I am at the origin. I'm going to go negative, negative. I got to go backwards to go negative on my first number and down to go negative on my second. So what quadrant is this? This is 1. This is 2. So this is 3. 1, 2, 3. Cool? Moving right along. Okay, so here we go. We are going to name the quadrant or axis where each point lies. It's kind of the same concept. They're just doing what I was doing for you. Okay, so look at point C. Nope. Where's this? Where's fireworks? Do we get fireworks? Ooh, that's neat. Okay, so if I'm looking at point C, it's over here. Okay, point C means which quadrant is this in? This quadrant over here is quadrant. This is 1, 2, 3. So this is quadrant 4. Okay. What about point J? This is J over here, right? So what quadrant is this, right? This is 1. This is 2. Okay. So I have quadrant 2. What about point R? R is right over here, right? R. So I have quadrant 1, with all positives, and then I go counterclockwise. So I'm at 3. And point T is right here, right on the line, right? This line right here is my y-axis. It's even labeled, so you really shouldn't be getting that one wrong, correct? Okay. I like the firework thing, but I doubt I stick with it because it's a little distracting as well. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to talk about plotting 5 and 3. It's all positive. So this is going to end up in the first quadrant because everything's positive. That means it's the easiest thing to do. It's what you learned first. Start at your origin, go forward 5, up 3, forward and up, right? Because your first number always tells you what you're doing left or right. If you're going right, it's because it's a positive number. If you're going left, it's because it's negative. The second number is always up or down. You go up if it's a positive number and down if it's a negative. Draw this on your paper every time if you need to remember, okay? So +5, +3, okay? I'm not going to click that one out because I feel like we're beyond having to need that, okay? All right. Moving on. Okay, so I'm going to get away from that because that's annoying. Okay, -1, -2. All right, so if I'm at my origin, dead center right here at 0, 0, and I need to go negative, negative, okay? -1, -2. I'm going backwards and down, okay? So here we go. I'm going to go -1 and then down 2. 1, 2, okay? Negative, negative. Let's see. We have 18 questions and we're almost done. Woohoo! Okay. The figure below has a point marked with a large dot. That's this guy right here. You're first going to reflect this entire figure across the x-axis. And remember, reflect just means jump. Okay. So I'm going to take this guy. And this is my x-axis, right? So that kind of lets you know what you're jumping over. You're going to go across this. I'm not sliding it over because that would mean it looks the exact same. When we say reflect, that's our pancake thing. Remember in all my videos, I said slide your spatula underneath that shape and flip it like a pancake, okay? So you will get the opposite configuration on the other side. Okay. And if you can't remember what I mean, it's kind of like if you have a smiley face, right? Here's your line. If I tell you to put a spatula under this and flip it over like a pancake, you're going to end up with the opposite, right? It's going to flip over like a pancake. So we need to do that with this shape. Fortunately, right now for 6th grade and for this program, it's pretty nice. All you have to do is kind of click a few buttons. So if I wanted to go across the x-axis, it means I want to go across this horizontal line. So I just look for my picture clues. This is how I want it to move, not vertically, but horizontally. So as soon as I click on that, I get this weird line. And all I have to do is make sure it's on the x-axis, like it's asking me to. And as soon as I click it, they automatically put the flipped pancake for me. Okay. Now all I have to do is figure out the coordinates, the ordered pair for the original and for the new and final figure. Okay, so to get to the original, I have to start at my origin and I'm going to go back 3 and down 2. Well, to go back is negative and to go down is negative. So it's -3, -2. Okay, -3, -2. Okay, now to get to the the final figure, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back 3. So that's a -3, but I'm going to go up 2. And when you go up, it's always positive. So back 3, up +2. Cool. Okay. Da, 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 da. Pretty sure the rest of these are, oh no, they're not. So find the distance between 3, 7 and 7, 7. Okay, so let me just get rid of that weird smiley face hanging out there. Okay, so to start us off, 3, I literally just recorded this video, so it's still really fresh in my brain. It's kind of weird. Okay, so here we go. These are your ordered pairs, right? So the first thing I'm going to say is how can you even tell just by looking at the numbers that this is going to make a straight line where you can tell how long it is? Blink, blink, awkward silence. Your Y, right? Your second number matches, right? They're both +7. So that lets you know it's going to end up making a straight line, okay? Without even having to graph anything, you should know that, okay? Then I look at my other numbers that don't match and they're both positives. So I don't have to find the absolute value for this. I can just kind of think about it. Okay, what's the difference between 7 and 3? So 7, 3. Cool. Now you're saying, but 3's on top and 7's on bottom and you flip the order. I just want to know the distance between the two. So that's why I can kind of flip the order. I just want to know the difference between the two. And there's a difference of 4 between the two. Okay. So let me go plot it over here so you can actually see what it looks like. So if I'm at +3, +7, okay. And then I'm at +7, +7, okay. All I'm doing is finding the length of this line, okay? They are both 7 high. That's what this is, okay? They're both at 7 high, so that's why it makes a straight line, because they're the same height, okay? Now, if this is at a 3, right, I went over 3, and this is at 7, right? I went over 7. All I'm doing is saying, how can I get from 3 to 7? 1, 2, 3, 4 hops. Baya. Okay, that's my answer. 4. Cool. So you can do it mathematically. You can draw it out either way. You just won't get a grid. Okay. Last problem. I feel so accomplished. Okay, here we go. We have -3, 5, and -3, -7. First of all, how can you tell that if I was going to go and graph these, it's going to make a straight line? My x numbers, my x's are the exact same. They're both -3. So that lets me know I'm going to start at the origin and go -3. I'm going to go backwards for each of these before I plot them. Okay, so I'm going to get a straight line. The other numbers, I have a positive and then I have a negative, so they don't match. Remember, when they don't match, it means they're going to be in 2 different quadrants. Okay, and if you want to plot them from here and just figure it out, you totally can. Or you can just say, when they don't match, if one's a positive and one's a negative, all that means is find the absolute value. What's the absolute value of positive 5? 5, it's 5 hops, right, from 0. What's the absolute value of -7? 7. It's 7 hops from 0, right? So all you got to do to figure out the length is you're adding them together. Okay? 7 plus 5. Yeah? Cool. I'm going to actually go over here though, and I'm going to take the order pairs and plot them and show you what it would look like. So I have -3, +5. So I'm going to go -3, +5. Just guessing. Okay. So this is my -3, +5. And then make that number. Here we go. And now I have -3, -7. So I'm still going to go the same spaces back, right? -3, but now I'm going to go down -7. Okay. Doesn't have to be realistic, but at least they need to be in a straight line this way, right? Because I went back oh my gosh, why does it do that? I went back -3 in both cases. Okay. So this is -3, -7, right? So I'm going to show you visually why you had to come up with your absolute value. Here's your 0, right? This is where you started. So how do you get up to here? You would go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's literally how you get up, by counting by 5, right? How would you get down to here? You would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? It takes you to -7, but it's 7 hops down, right? So that's literally 5 hops here and 7 hops here. So to find the length of the entire thing, wouldn't you add these 7 hops to these 5 hops to get a total of 12 hops? Cool. So that's the reason. I liked the fact that this study guide gave you an example of both. So you could see what it's like to have them end up in the same quadrant. And this example showed you what happens if they're in different quadrants, right? If your signs don't match, find the absolute value and add them together. Okay, so that is all. I feel accomplished. I hope you do as well. And that is it. Good luck on your own study guide. I hope this video really, really helped.